Conversations in Salmiana.
Woo!
Con Chava Periban.
And Darian. I cannot pronounce your last name, man.
Martyniuk.
Martyniuk. Martinez. I'm going to just say Darian Martinez.
My middle name is Yaroslav, by the way.
Oh, Lord. Okay, one day we'll have that conversation about origins. But today here we are... I mean... It's funny because when I met you, which was how long have we met each other?
It's about 3-4 years ago.
3-4 years. And when I met you, you came to this project I was working at in the center of the city, right in front of the cathedral. Some humble people have inherited a really amazing,
wonderful mansion.
It's one of the most beautiful properties I've ever spent serious amounts of time in Mexico City.
It's shocking to me to think that either an individual or a family owns a house of such clear and obvious historic importance and location.
And you know the story, I mean, I'm just going to divert, but I mean, this is the project. It's called Seminario 12, Seminario 12. If you can still go there. They have an amazing restaurant there called Palmar Segundo. You actually ate there. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
But the story goes, Cesar's mother bought this because she was outside after the earthquake, the 85 earthquake. Wrecked everything, and she said she saw someone counting people outside of the building, and she was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "We are counting if there's enough people to put up McDonald's here." Oof. And she was like, "Hell no, under my dead body." And the story goes like she got money from whatever she could, bought the property, but it was in absolute shambles. Took her 40 years to rebuild that. And to get it where it is right now.
And it's amazing.
Right?
It's amazing.
So we met in very good circumstances. And then when you came there, you came with a funny proposition.
So, to set the scene, I had been, for various reasons, I had decided to go into the mezcal business. Started my own brand.
No cerebral damage. You didn't hit your head.
No. I went into this willingly, and semi-consciously.
Oh Lord, you're the worst kind. You're the worst kind.
Yeah. So, and we connected through Lou Bank in Chicago. Woo. Shout out Lou. And Lou had suggested you for a tasting. We went and had a tasting. I had been, prior to our meeting, I had been in San Luis Potosí, and as part of my mezcal project, you
can disclose. I mean, obviously, you can make a little commercial. Why not? Yeah.
De Matachines. Agave spirits, currently sourced from San Luis Potosí, expanding to some other states in Mexico, as well as other non-agave spirits in the months to come, available in the United States in several select states, more to come soon.
Woo! Okay.
All right.
We can go on.
All right.
You're not sponsoring this, by the way. I want at least a few bottles. Huh?
All right. You got it. So I brought you some Salmiana from my producers in San Luis Potosí.
And I unfortunately, I had very poor experiences with Salmiana previous to our encounter.
I had mentioned to Lou, I think, that I'm going to bring Chava some Salmiana, and Lou said, I don't think he likes Salmiana.
Yeah, I had said it very publicly.
Yeah,
so,
I'm not going to I'm not going to present myself, at least back then, certainly as some kind of an expert on Salmiana or agave spirits. But I'm like, this stuff is really good. Chava just hasn't had the right one. I've heard a phrase used often. It's not that you don't like mezcal; it's that you haven't had the right one yet.
Absolutely, I hear that about a lot of things that I will not mention. But
right, and I knew coming in, it's like it's not that Chava doesn't like Salmiana; it's he hasn't had the right one yet, or dare I say, a really good one.
Yes, and that was absolutely true.
And most of the widely available Salmiana expressions in Mexico and the United States are, let's say, probably not the finest expression of the terroir. Okay,
and before we started recording, we agreed upon not given exact names because we're here to celebrate stuff. We're not here to attack anybody. So we're going to talk about the good and the great, and Absolutely. We might not if any names slip, we will censor them just because.
I will not mention bleep.
Yes, like that.
No.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Like everything that I tried with Salmiana was either weirdly watery, weirdly off flavors. It was just not. It was not a rounded, pretty thing that I wanted to enjoy.
Right. So I brought you, if I remember correctly, two different Salmiana expressions. One was a 55% Salmiana.
Oof. Yes, I still dream about that. Yeah.
It was in effect the puntas. It wasn't quite like in the Oaxacan style puntas where it's all 65%.
I will always claim 55 is the punta, is where puntas start.
Then this was at 55.1.
Yeah, so that's just my take on it.
And I think that's a wonderful, fascinating expression. It's from a producer outside of San Luis Potosí who has a local brand named Jurame. Mm-hmm. And they sell it domestically in Mexico at a lower ABV. I encouraged him strongly to offer it at a higher ABV.
Because you gringos are crazy.
Well, yeah, because we're crazy and we all love that stuff. But I thought for the American palate,
whatever that is,
whatever that is, it was a better expression of a better way to express the Salmiana than at 38%. As those who are listening will know, if they're involved in the restaurant or bar business at all, American bars and restaurants, mixologists, whoever, will not even consider any spirit below 40%.
Which is, I mean, I have to do a full episode about that. But yeah, it's funny to me because, and I'll just say really quickly, because lower ABV means people can drink more drinks. From an industry perspective, you want people to order 5 cocktails and not be wasted after 2.
Right. Right. What I've been told is that when you have it much below 40%, the alcohol content in the spirit will not stand up to the other, usually fruit flavors, sweeteners, other additives, and whatever kind of cocktail it is.
Sorry, this is definitely not the episode.
Okay.
But I will say that it's because they're using very aggressive modifiers.
Yes.
Exactly. Because they're using syrup that it's using freaking Domino's. Because they're using sodas, they're using the worst of the worst in modifiers.
Right.
So only if you have the hulk of the mezcales, that's gonna cut through that. Sorry, that's definitely not.
So I brought you that 55%, and I believe I brought you something from the village of Palmar Segundo.
Oof.
Which is
and since then. Sorry,
so it's made mezcal or spirits from that particular village are made in the traditional campanilla style,
which is proof that aliens have visited the earth.
Yes. For those that don't know, it is a clay pot distillation system, fairly unique to that part of Mexico. As you have in other parts of Mexico, they have a different take or different unique type of still construction or still assembly. This is pretty unique to San Luis Potosí and this village in particular.
Yes, it is. It is insanity.
And pretty much everything they make there is really amazing.
No, it's you want to die. You try that and you're like, who are you people? How did this happen? Are you gonna do more? Because if you're not, I need. With Maguey Melate, which is a project that I collaborate actively with, we bought. The time that we went there, we bought everything. We were like, even your last drop.
Yep.
We just dried up the town. Just impressive stuff.
Is that why they had none left for me?
Maybe. Yeah, but you brought that, you maniac. And what else did you bring that time? You don't remember. It's fine.
I may have brought something like some of the local Jurame or another brand that I chose not to work with because I didn't think their spirit was particularly up to the standards I wanted.
But just with those two, you came in there and I was a older chava and now I was a new chava that loved Salmianas with tremendous passion.
I even remember when I pulled it out for you, I'm like, here, try this Salmiana puntas. And I could see the look on your expression the expression on your face rather was like, really? Huh. You were doing me a favor. You were.
Well, it was like this poor man came here, like he carried the bottles. I had like such beautiful mezcal in that place too.
You had wonderful stuff there.
I mean, I had like Rio de Parras. I had like Valle El Tigre.
The skepticism was written all over your face. You didn't have to say anything. I could tell you were like, all right, fine. I'm going to make this guy happy. He came here, and I don't know if you changed that day, but I think
effective immediate.
Yeah.
No, it was night and day for me.
Yeah.
It was that, and then like I think the post effect of that was like okay, now that I like this, let's start researching about the regions, the history, the culture that sustains this. And then that's when I really was like, okay, this is way bigger than what I had expected.
Right. So my initial deep dive into agave spirits was in 2016 on I have a small travel business on a travel industry event in San Luis Potosí. On the last day, you have a half day. They're like, who wants to go climb a mountain? Who wants to go do a mezcal tour? I'm like, duh, which am I going to do? So I go do the mezcal tour, and we visited 2 producers, including one of the producers I work with now at Hacienda Peñasco.
Which is a beautiful hacienda, by the way.
Yes.
And probably one of the oldest mezcal haciendas in the country.
Yes. So I got there, and they're telling me, like, well, really, everybody says Oaxaca is the place for mezcal, but really we got it all here. And I, of course, go back to the United States. I'm telling my friends, yeah, that Oaxacan stuff, they don't know what they're doing. I had good mezcal, but I had not done a deep dive. I had never been to Oaxaca before that. And I come back, and then when I met Lou, I was basically telling him the same story. He's like, well, you got to go to Oaxaca. I'm like, well, they told me it's like this here. Turns out, I think Lou would agree that years later, it's a much more complicated story. It's not as simple as this one has legitimate historical claim or is quote-unquote better or more legit. The history up there, as you know, it's in San Luis Potosí and Zacatecas and Guanajuato. Before tequila was tequila, or before tequila, rather, was the primary agave spirit that
was exported, yeah.
It was mezcal.
Vino de mezcal
from that region, and made a certain way, done a lot differently than they do it in Oaxaca. A lot of it is steam cooked.
Yes. I mean, like the grand majority, and you have, well, yeah, sorry.
But it has its own claim to being legitimate mezcal, just as Oaxaca does.
But they were making millions of liters.
100+ years ago, they had these massive facilities. Jaral de Berrio, a town in Guanajuato, in northern Guanajuato. It has possibly the biggest facility, other than an industrial brand I won't name in Jalisco or something making tequila, whatever, many brands. Yeah. The largest mezcal producing facility, or agave spirits producing facility anybody's ever seen.
It was. I've read a few testimonies of it, and it sounds.
And I've seen the pictures. I've never actually been. You can drive by on the road and you can kind of see the building.
No, I've been inside.
Okay, I have not been there yet.
Yeah, the kilns are houses.
Yep.
And they were not the only factory. That's the other thing, that there were multitude of factories of such scale in the region.
Yep.
They were, completely arbitrary theory or whatnot, but I wouldn't think that, when the World Fair in Chicago happened, 1890 something, I wouldn't be surprised that a little bit like what happens today, somebody brought a sample from Jalisco, but really brought a sample from these guys, because they're like, in Jalisco, we're making like 10,000 liters a year. These kids can be the true supplier. So I wouldn't be surprised if we really was being marketed as tequila was truly Salmiana, because they had the muscle to really make the production.
Right. Now I have a project when I return home. It was the 1892 Columbian Exposition, and I'm going to go find information on the Mexican Pavilion, because I'm sure there was a Mexican Pavilion, and see what kind of spirits they had, if anything.
Lord.
So and again, inspiration for my brand logo. Those listening on podcast can't hear, but those who are seeing it on video, my brand logo here, designed by my friend Gabe Lanza, famous Chicago graphic designer, has a Chicago flag in it. So
you're a terrorist. Putting Chicago flags on Mexican icons. Okay, cool.
Is it cultural appropriation? I don't know.
No, it's
if anything, it's
cultural filtration. Cultural
fusion. Woo. If I can overuse that overused word from cuisine, cultural fusion.
Whatever. I mean, I love cultures that decide to love each other. Like,
well, every just like in biology, we were speaking earlier about yeasts.
Yeah.
Where you want the diversity, you want to spread the biodiversity, you want to crush monoculture and spread the diversity, even if it's as simple as a milpa or other biological systems like that. why does that only apply to biology? Why would it not make cultures stronger when you can have a mix of different things put
Distillation
together?
in Mexico, sir.
Exactly.
Asian, Arab, European, all of them merged into this craziness that we all love.
Exactly.
Best example ever.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I think like we came into this episode trying to say there's a significant chance that you person out there that's starting to get a little bit more into mezcal has tried a Salmiana and you were not into it.
Right.
Wait a little bit more, try others, and you may fall aggressively in love. Again, checking from the baseball episode, aggressive enthusiasm. But do you have sort of, like, I don't know, like, is there something about, because obviously you fell in love with Salmiana intensively. Is there something about Salmiana that you find that you don't quite find elsewhere? Like, if you were to choose one thing, you don't have to, but if you had to, like...
That's good. I will say a couple things. Number one, I'm struck by the uniqueness of it, or rather the uniqueness of the... I'm struggling for the right word here. In Guanajuato and San Luis Potosí, and from what I understand in the bordering parts of Zacatecas, Salmiana is the only agave they have they make spirits out of. I was just...
I will say that it's the most prominent.
But it's overwhelmingly prominent.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like there's 60 or 70%.
No, it's 98, 99 point. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few other guys out there doing some other things.
Yeah, with Mapizaga, with Barry.
Right.
Yeah.
They're doing a couple other things, but it's the overwhelming. So it contrasts to Oaxaca, where yes, you have Espadín as an overwhelming variety, but you have so many other varieties. I mean, the ones people know about, Tobalá, all your Karwinskis, things like that. Your other lesser variety, I won't go into deep dive on varieties. We know what they are. Even in Durango, where I just was earlier this week, you have the Cenizo, but you also have the Verde, and you have the Sotol.
Which is a Salmiana.
Yeah, which is a Salmiana. And you have the Sotol, which, while it's technically not an agave, it is an agave-adjacent spirit.
And you have Masparillo, Lamparillo.
Lamparillo, exactly. Shout out Sergio.
Ultramundo.
Woohoo! So yeah, you what struck me was how it was unique in that respect. Also, and this may just be my palate, but what struck me about many of the Salmianas I have is you have a pretty distinct flavor profile. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's just me or if it's
no. It has.
If you know, at the end of a week of tasting in San Luis Potosí, my palate's numb and it all tastes the same.
Yeah. You know what I will say though, because I will claim that every agave does have a very specific flavor profile, but I think that we all find stuff that we like better than others.
Yeah.
And I think something that really calls my attention, I didn't understand this until I spent some time with the folks at Campanilla in Palmar Segundo, was that they also have a lot of varietals within Salmiana.
Yes, the Verde, Chino,
Cuerno. And that is a conversation that I still don't see represented like as obviously as the Karwinski conversation. You know, in Karwinski, we all talk about your cuiches, madrecuiche, tabasiche, barril. Like that's a conversation that has had 10 years in the making. Right. And I think with Salmiana now, if I can predict the future in a way, I think that it's going to become as diverse when we start identifying the different varietals as the Karwinski, like pantheon.
Right. Well, I think part of that has to do with the, again, for lack of a better term, supremacy in the market of Oaxacan mezcals or Oaxacan agave spirits, where there's a lot of value in Oaxaca to being able to differentiate yourself in a lot of very narrow ways. Yeah. Whereas San Luis Potosí, specifically in the United States, there's maybe 12 or 15 different Salmiana spirits available.
Of the 7,000 brands.
Right.
15,
and you go, and you go and look up a quiche in whatever online review source you use. There's pages and pages and pages. Many of them are great. I'm not trying to knock them specifically.
And I think that's important to say.
Right.
Like when we sort of say like Oaxaca, because it sounds weird how we're referring to Oaxaca. Yeah. Would always have a grand and special space in my heart.
Of course.
I think that they're still very undiscovered, honestly. there's so many areas in Oaxaca that are still like Yautepec. Like there's so many areas that are still out there and they're beautiful. But yeah, they do have a presence in the market that it's overwhelmingly...
Right. And it behooves them to get into to go into that level of subspecies and subvarietal or whatever the scientific terms are.
Your pelones verdes, your
chuparrosas. But pretty much in a lot of these producers in San Luis Potosí are just, please buy our Salmiana, please buy our spirits, please try it out. Those that want to spread the word. Some don't. Some very clearly are content being a fairly local product and doing their business the way they do it. And they're not always as interested in people coming in and taking it over.
But that's insanity too, because in that area, you still get to try the spirits that are drank by the people of those towns. And those producers give absolutely... Well, they don't have quite a lot of interest in us. They're like, if you like it, chido. Yeah. You don't like it?
I'll share a story that kind of touches on that. When I decided to go into this business, start a brand, I had thought maybe I'll go to Oaxaca, because everybody said, look, you can go to Oaxaca and you have a budget, and if you're willing to spend the money, it's not rocket science to find really high quality producers and high quality spirits if you're coming in there with money.
I sort of disagree. Like, I think people think rocket science is very hard. Like, try working in Oaxaca, kids. Try working. Yeah, anyway, sorry.
But in San Luis Potosí, they're much more skeptical. They're not as welcoming to outsiders.
No, not at all.
And it took me over a course of 1.5 to 2 years, multiple visits.
Yes.
Multiple visits to these folks and explain to them what I'm trying to do. I wanted to make sure and honor their wishes and their product, their heritage, their traditions, and their spirit, both, liquid and otherwise, but also
liquid and other. Okay,
but also let them know that they've got a really good thing here, and if you want me to help spread the word, I want to help spread the word. Part of what I'm doing, I think specifically in my case, is I have to act as an evangelist for Salmiana.
The gospel, the Salmiana gospel.
Yeah. And it might not be, it might not be one of the, books of the Pentateuch or something, or, but it's one of the minor, like, letters to the Potosinos, a little later on,
I love it.
A little later on, but it's a legit book, and it's a legit wonderful thing to experience.
So I think just as a conclusion and just like really, and a thank to you, honestly, I was telling you earlier, it seems that probably a good part of 2024 for me in terms of work related to agave spirits, it will be very Salmiana-centric. Mm-hmm. I'm starting a few projects with that. I'll share some of that, I think, later on. But I don't think that I will have had the interest or even the bare knowledge to be able to do these projects hadn't you come with your silly little plastic bottles and change my mind around this. So thanks a lot, Darian, and thanks a lot for coming here with lies and broken promises. I swear to God, I'm going to take you to eat something because we're...
I know. It's midday. There have been several mezcals. There hasn't been a whole lot of food. We got to eat.
We'll fix it. So...
Thanks to you, Chava. It's a great pleasure being here with you.
Jovenazo, nos vemos.
Take care.
Adiosito.
Yes, that was great. All right. That was good, man.
I am really curious if any of you dear listeners have tried Salmianas that you loved or hated with passion. Just this last weekend, I tried a steam-cooked, steam-distilled Salmiana from Zacatecas that once again made me understand that I'm just barely grasping this agave's potential. All sounds and music were carefully made by Roy while he was vacationing in Mérida. Go spread the Salmiana's gospel. Nos vemos al ratito.